morning. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. I am, of course, Patrick Lee, your host. Hope everyone's doing great today. Make a little camera adjustment. It's a Wednesday morning, middle of April 2022. Season 3 of Midweek Motivation Live. If you started following us on the podcast, on multiple podcast channels available now, we have the show broken up into seasons. We have started uploading everything from year one in 2020. I think we started unofficially in the end of 2019, started recording shows, and we have a lot of shows recorded, a lot of them being uploaded now to Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, a lot of podcast channels, and now iTunes as well. You can find the show on iTunes. Welcome to the show today. I am Patrick Lee, your host. I want to talk to you today about time versus money, money versus time. We're going to get into that here in a couple of minutes. The people already tuning in. Going to give people time to tune in a little bit. I have been rushing it a little. I'm not one of the guys that likes to wait 5 minutes before they start their show. I want to give people time to get tuned in. But most people know we're going live at 10 o'clock every Wednesday morning, and within about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we jump right into the topic. Today's topic: money versus time. And we've talked about this topic a little bit in the past in different methods. Today, I'm just going to break it down to these two, and that's what we're going to get into here in a minute. I hope everyone's having a good week. Leave me say hi in the comments. Drop some comments below the video. Let me know who's watching today. I see our people already tuning in. I know probably a couple of my regulars are already tuning in. So many people that I did not expect to watch the show are now watching the show and chiming in each week. A lot of people that are commenting. Thank you very much. I am blessed and highly favored that you come back and watch the show. And I hope, and I'm starting to see the results rising on the podcast as well. On the downloads, I have a Buzzsprout I was turned on to by my good buddies Nick Krim and Michael K. At Content Cards that created my overlays for me and helped get me started in video years ago. Turned me on to Buzzsprout, and that's where we upload the podcast, all these episodes to Buzzsprout. And if you have a podcast or something you're wanting to get online, I would recommend you use that platform as well. And you can export your podcast out to all of the major podcast platforms from that website. Go to buzzsprout.com, and that is what I'm using. Of course, the service that I use to go live each and every week, streaming live, is StreamYard. That is the website that I'm using right now where you are watching me. Good morning, Gina. Love watching you on the show, having you watch the show. You're such a great friend. And such a good heart. Marlene, you're the best. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. But I do want to talk to you today about, let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's talk about money versus time. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts lately, some other videos that my mentors put out, and I've recognized something in myself. As recently as yesterday, I went through the very thing that I'm wanting to talk to you guys about today. And that was, people call some things burnout. And I don't necessarily call it burnout, but I do call it sometimes the paralysis of analysis and just a funk. Some people call it a rut. Some people, I just call it getting funky. And I don't mean funky in a good way. I was... For the better part of yesterday, I did my best to put my game face on. We had a lot of business going on yesterday. When I got to the office, I wasn't feeling it. My head was hanging low, and I had so many things that I needed to do. And I know that you guys go through this too. And I was like, Patrick, you have to show up. You're the leader. You know how that goes? Sometimes that happens, and we're like, I don't know that I want to do anything today. I was invited to go play golf yesterday morning, and a friend texted me and said, hey, why don't we burn off today and let's go play some golf? And I said, I'm committed, man. I've already committed my day. And many of you are that same way. I make my lists in advance. I book myself. I overbook myself intentionally, because a lot of the principles I've taught you, if you set your goals high and you miss, at least you're going to be higher up. You're going to achieve a higher mark. than if you set your goals super low and hit, right? If you set your goals low and you always achieve those goals, but it's because they were set so low, where is the enjoyment in that? Where is the sense of it, of accomplishment in that? So I set my, I beat myself up and I bring it on myself, but I want to talk to you about that today. Because maybe you do the same thing. I overbook myself and say, if I can get 60% or 70 or 80% of what I need to get done today, that will be a win. Les Brown, the motivational speaker, had one of his favorite things to say is shoot for the moon. Because even if you miss, you'll still end up among the stars, right? That's one of the things that I've sort of adopted as a mantra of mine in the back of my brain. Shoot for the moon. So if you set your goals high and miss, at least you'll be higher than if you set your goals low and hit. Time versus money, money versus time. So I was feeling yesterday like I was out of time and out of money. I was like, I have so many things that I want to do and I have finite resources. What does finite mean? Everyone knows what infinite means, right? And everyone knows what infinite means. Infinite, Buzz Lightyear says to infinity and beyond. Infinity means unlimited. It means to the end of the universe, you have resources. Finite is the opposite of that. Finite means limited. You have a set amount. And in life, we have a set amount of time and money. Money is a tool that you can make more of. Don't get me wrong, I agree. But as far as the amount that you have right now at your disposal, that's a limited amount, right? Time is something that continues to tick away. And I'm not a big TV watcher. I'm a YouTube watcher, a little bit of Netflix, not much on Netflix. I'll watch some comedians. I watch a lot of off-grid homesteading shows, how to be resourceful if we ever have to live off the land. I want to be prepared. I'm not a doomsday prepper, even though I believe in a doomsday, but I also believe in a resurrection day. So I'm a resurrection day prepper. Hey, there's a new term for you. I'm a resurrection day prepper, but I was raised to be resourceful and learn to live off the land growing up in Oregon. I think that I could live off the land fairly successfully on a desert island, in a wooded forest somewhere, in a tropical rainforest. I think I could keep me and my family alive for a while till we could be rescued, and maybe live off the land indefinitely with the right tools and a little bit more knowledge. But time is limited. We have a certain amount of time and no more. 60 minutes in every hour, 24 hours in every day, right? We have a finite amount of time. We've talked about the third resource, really, which is your energy. And I've thrown that in a little bit in the title, money versus time versus energy. But the energy part is, I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm talking about the money versus your time. Money versus time. And I was feeling yesterday, but I don't waste, getting back to this time topic, I was watching a little bit of TV. I went to a meeting last night, learning how to be a better speaker on stage, how to present certain ideas at my church and things that were important. So I went to that, got the microphone, spoke on stage in front of judges. You have judges that will critique you and how well you speak on stage when you're done. So I didn't even turn the microphone on, right? See, I've got the microphone here. Here's the microphone. The microphone is on today. Last night I was speaking on stage in this auditorium and did not even turn on the microphone. But the good thing is I'm so used to speaking, everyone could still hear me. And I was a little nervous live speaking on stage in front of these people. Mainly, if you're speaking like here on the radio, I'm live and everyone can comment, right? But they can't look me eye to eye and make me nervous. So I can stand here and rattle off all day. Doesn't really bother me that much. I love it, and everyone seems to enjoy the show. But last night I got a little nervous when I went on stage, and I used to sing on stage. Used to be a singer. And I've given that up and letting the younger generation do that now. And it used to be on stage frequently, but not as a public speaker, more as a performer. And there is a difference. So was a little bit nervous, had a little shake in the voice, but got over that quickly. And then was critiqued when I was done. And it's because I want to learn to be a better communicator of things that matter. And the comments that people said in the critique when I was done was that you were very direct, you were passionate about what you were speaking about, and a good communicator. There were a couple of ideas that I got a little crossed and made it a little hard to follow, but for the most part, they were pretty impressed and had good comments to make. And the critiques that they had, I received welcomely. I welcome those, and because they make me a better person to help you. So, what does finite mean? It means limited. So, when I got in with the limited amount of time from speaking last night, my wife had This Is Us on. How many of you have ever watched This Is Us? I have never watched one episode of This Is Us. It came out a couple years ago. Apparently, this is the final season. And the one of the actors was giving a speech at a wedding of the sister, and he was talking about time. And I found myself being drawn into this, and I was trying not to get interested in this show. I don't watch TV shows. I'm not a big fan of TV shows, and this was one of the reasons. However, this guy got my attention, and he was talking about our finite amount of time and the moments that we have that we need to cherish, the moments that are important to us, learning to recognize when we are running out of time. Time continues to tick away. And that was an old song, I think in the 60s or 70s. Time keeps slipping away. How do we identify when we're lacking in a resource? How many of you feel like you're running out of time? There's only a certain amount of hours in the day, certain amount of minutes in every hour, and you are running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And I know that's a graphic example, but when I was a kid growing up, there were a couple of times that I experienced that. You know what running around like a chicken with his head cut off means? When you're going to harvest a chicken, chickens were raised to be harvested. In most people in the old days when I was growing up, and now on farms and ranches all across the world, around the world, people raise chickens to eat, right? They lay eggs. Some of them are egg layers, and some of them are chickens that you're going to harvest for fried chicken, for chicken cacciatore, for chicken spaghetti, for for grilled chicken, barbecue chicken. Come on, somebody, bless God, barbecue chicken, right? So you would put a chicken under a bucket and you lay it down on a stump and you just get the hatchet and you cut its head off. Or you would grab this chicken by the neck, by the head, and you spin that chicken around really fast a couple of times and the head separates from the body. And uncontrollably, every time if that chicken will fall and run around like its head is still attached. Like it's crazy. It runs around in circles till it falls over and dies. So that's a graphic example. But sometimes we feel like the world is choking us. The world's trying to rip our head off, and we're running around like a chicken with our head off. Sorry for that example. I'm 58. It just came to my mind. But that's how I caught myself. That's the situation, the mindset that I found myself in yesterday. And as I was listening, whenever I find myself in these situations, of course, I have to take a moment and pause. And then I have to recenter on who I am, where I'm trying to go. And then I go listen to a mentor. And I get my motivations right and I get my head back on right. So that's what I did in this situation. I listened, talked to some people, made a couple of phone calls, got out of the office, went and ran some chores, went and met some people, came back and was in a much better mindset. The rest of the day went very well. I was busy, like I said, until about 9 o'clock last night. When I got home at 9 o'clock, I watched that show, listened to the speech on time, got a little emotional, and I identified that I was lacking in a resource. And that resource was time, because I extended myself so far, I got to the point that I overwhelmed myself, and I learned to recognize that. So I identified what I was doing. And now I'm going to be a little bit more careful in limiting how much of my time I allot to other people every day. I had a good friend stop by yesterday, watches the show regularly. And he said, "Hey, man, are you at the office?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm in the area. I'll stop by and see you." I said, "Great, come on by." And was I working? Yes, absolutely. I was looking at listings. I had a client on the phone. We're going to write an offer on some property, and so I just said, "Come on by." You know what? And I took about 30 minutes of my time and I gave it to a friend, and it totally cleared my mind, and it brought me back into focus on other people. I got outside of myself. There's another key element: get outside of yourself and start learning how. Here's a statement that I want to make, and I didn't make a banner out of this, but I should have. I've learned this years ago from another mentor. His name's Mike Murdoch. He has books out called The Wisdom Keys, had a TV show. And yes, he's a preacher, he's an evangelist, but he's a very good motivational speaker as well. And he said, if what you have is not enough to meet your need, it is your seed. And I'll say that again. If what you have is not enough to meet your need, that is your seed. And you take that lack and you sow it into your future and watch that come back to you, harvest upon harvest upon harvest. So what I learned was that I identified that I was lacking in time and I did not have enough time for myself, in and of myself. So I devoted some of my time and I sowed it into someone else. Gave him a book. I'm going to give y'all a book today too, as a matter of fact. Hold on just a second. I'm going to give somebody who likes, loves, and shares the show with their friends today a book called Untrapped. This is the book by Brian Carruthers, and it's on entrepreneurship, escaping the grind to find freedom and happiness in life. Brian Carruthers' number one book probably is Building an Empire. Great author, but I'm going to give away a copy of this today. I bought a box of these. So maybe I'll give away 2 books today to people that like, love, share the show, recommend it. You know what I mean? Recommend it to a friend. But I did. This book will help set you free on time. Learning how to become untrapped from the grind that you're in and how to get free in life. That's another one of the books that I've committed myself to reading. And yeah, like, love, share the show today. 2 people are going to get a book. And hey, Sal, good to see you watching as well. Thank you for tuning in. What a good guy. So how do we identify when we are lacking in a resource? I shared that with you. Now I want to talk to you about ROI versus ROTI. Many of you have heard of ROI, and that simply is return on investment, right? When you're going into a business, you want to know what the ROI is. If someone asks you to invest in a business venture, you'd say, what's the ROI? And what does that mean? Return on investment. That means how much money am I going to make for how much I put in? That's the return on investment. If I am buying a rent house, if you're buying a rent house and you have a certain amount of money that you're going to put into that and you can pay for it up front and buy that house with cash, then you're going to want to know how much is it going to cash flow? What is cash flow? That means how much money is it going to bring me back in every month on top of what I put into it. And if that property is bringing money in, then it's an investment. Actually, it's bringing in money. That's the return on investment. If you're continuing to spend out every month on an investment property, that is an investment that is failing. You are getting a net return, a negative return on that investment. But what is ROTI? ROTI. ROTI is the return on time investment. How much time are you going to invest into something? What is the return going to be on the time that you give to other people? Because I could talk to you about money all day long. I have a little bit. I don't have a lot, but I have a little bit. You know what? In the last few years, I've learned how to be a lot wiser with my money. I've shared with you in the past, I come from a family that didn't have a lot of money. Dad worked 3 jobs, retired from his hospital job after 38 years, but also cleaned banks, cleaned floors, cleaned restaurants, would do janitorial work, him and my mom as well. Take in cars to clean. They would detail cars. They would go mow lawns. They would go build fence. They would go spend time helping other people consistently to make ends meet. And what they ended up doing was investing their time. While they were investing money, what little money they had into raising their kids, they were investing time because it was one of the things that they knew they could invest into other people. Were people apt to take advantage of them? Absolutely. Are they apt to take advantage of you and me? Absolutely. That's why we have to start identifying when we are lacking in that resource. When we start getting low on money, we start becoming much wiser with how we invest our money. Likewise, we need to start doing the same with our time. If we start getting low on time, we have to learn when to say no, when to say, I don't have enough time for that, or identify if that time investment is going to bring you a return. How could you get a return on a time investment? Invest your time in making a plan for your next day. Had a meeting with Gina. She's watching the show. We're putting together a board for a nonprofit. We want to put on an event for a nonprofit. We want to have a big event, raise some money for a couple of nonprofits to help support organizations that are near and dear to our heart. I've shared the show with Tracy Rogers last week. Did an interview with her at No Boundaries International. We're going to be supporting Life Impact International in Thailand as well. And when you when you show up to a meeting with Gina and you have an idea, and Gina has made brochures and flyers and put together a Google Doc spreadsheet, and we already have imported contacts of donors into that, and all of this was done in her spare time. You learn who is a great investor of their time. So one of the ways, love Gina for that. That's awesome. She's a great user of her time. She's learned where to invest her time because she's going to get a return on that investment. So making a plan the night before of your next day, that's a great investment into your time. Investing time into relationships is always a good investment. You don't have to spend a lot of time to get a lot of return when you're investing in people. So return on time investment. Those are the things that I would recommend that you do. Invest your time into people. Invest your time into things that are going to bring you a return. Some people are time wasters. Some people are time magnifiers. Look at yourself internally and ask yourself the hard question, which one am I? Am I a time waster? Do I call a lot of people just to shoot the bull? Do I pull out of other people from their time just because I'm needy? Am I needy? I ask myself that sometimes when I start feeling like I'm out of time. Yesterday, I was paralyzed for about an hour. And it wasn't a paralysis, a fear of moving forward. I was paralyzed by time and how many things I had allowed myself to get committed to that I was not going to get a return on that investment. And that was a wake-up call for me. And I told you how I got out of it. You know, I had to get out of the office. I had to go call some people. I had to listen to some mentors and learn how to start realizing again, getting recentered on where I need to spend my time. And you can never go wrong spending your time on mending bridges, repairing relationships, and investing into other people. But identifying also if you're a time waster. How many of you have caught yourself sometimes consistently calling or texting a person just because you didn't want to do what you were supposed to be doing? You would rather chat with a friend. If that friend needs you, that's great. If you can invest some time into that person and you're fixing a relationship, you're doing something that's going to bring you a return, that's great. But if you are spending your time just chatting, social media, on TV, doing whatever, that is blown time. That is wasting the time you could be using to invest into somebody else, somebody or some activity that's going to give you a return on that time invested. Mindless chatter, mindless scrolling on social media. How many of us are guilty? We're all guilty. Well, my wife's not. She hates social media, so she won't get on it, but she will come home and ask me what's going on with everyone else. So then I will spend a little time in my wife getting a return on my time investment with my relationship with my wife. sharing a few things that are going on with people on social media. I love it. So that's my ROTI on social media with my wife, but I don't recommend spending a lot of time on social media. Maybe you are hooked on social media on the cell phone and you need to break that habit. You need to break that habit. I have 18 social media apps on my phone. When the politics changed 2 years ago, when current president was elected, everyone started jumping off of the big three social media platforms. I have deleted a couple of them from my phone and uploaded all of the new apps that people started flocking to for social media content that would not have as much censorship of what people wanted to say. And I started investing my time into these other apps. Some of those apps have proven to be totally fruitless. Some of those apps have actually proven to be of a benefit and apps that I will stay on. Multiple apps that I have downloaded onto my phone, I have deleted and found them to be absolutely worthless. They were created by somebody for some reason. They thought it would be good. It didn't take off, or they were censored heavily. And I just simply will not support an app like that. My time is worth more to me than that. So these are the things that I really want you to pay attention to today. Return on investment is important. Return on time investment is imperative for you to have success and peace in your life. I hope the show has helped you today. There is a big difference between time and money. Money is renewable, time is not. We call money a finite resource because it means we have a limited amount of it at the moment. But just like time, if you don't have enough to meet your need, that is your seed. Sow it into your future and watch yourself get a harvest that you don't have room enough to receive. Hope this has helped you today. Remember, 2 of you, like, love, share the show. Send me your address. I'll be contacting you for your address. I'll send you a copy of Untrapped, The Freedom Manifesto by Brian Carruthers. A great read. I think you will really love that. For everyone else watching the show, love you guys. I hope you have a blessed week. Until next week, this has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live saying if you need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, click the link in the comments below this video to my digital business card created by Content Cards with a Z, contentcards.com. And I'd love to get an appointment with you and talk to you about how we can help you meet your real estate needs. Everybody have a great week. Until next week, bye-bye.